I was standing in the break room of my small logistics company in Cincinnati, Ohio, waiting for the coffee machine to spit out something that resembled energy when my phone vibrated. Not one notification. 3, then 5, then one final message that froze my bloodstream. Call me. Now. Attorney Samuel Harlow. At first, I thought it had to be about the vendor lawsuit we were handling last month. Nothing could have prepared me for the sentence he spoke the second I answered. Delaney, it's your daughter. She's planning to take everything from you. My legs buckled. I had to grip the edge of the counter just to stay upright. What did you just say? His voice tightened. She's been meeting with someone who's helping her draft a claim to seize control of the company. And she's already trying to access your financial accounts. I felt the world tilt sideways. My daughter. My only child. The girl I raised alone. Working 2 jobs, through snowstorms and eviction notices, with barely enough gas money to get her to school. I staggered back, the cheap coffee forgotten, staring at the wall as if it could explain how the person I loved most was suddenly my enemy. Sam, that's impossible, I whispered. She wouldn't do that to me. She knows what this company is. I built it so she'd have a stable future. Everything I've done was for her. He exhaled sharply, like the words hurt him too. Delaney, she's already filed preliminary paperwork. It's real. My ears rang. A high-pitched buzzing swallowed the room. I couldn't hear my heartbeat, couldn't even feel my hands. Who's helping her? I managed to ask. We don't know yet, he said. But whoever it is, they know exactly where to hit you. The humiliation hit first sharp and acidic. Then the fear slow and choking. Then the betrayal so violent it felt physical. I walked back to my office in a daze, past employees who smiled at me, oblivious that my entire world had just been cracked open. When I closed the door, my knees finally gave out. I dropped onto the carpet, the phone slipping from my fingers. My daughter. My flesh. My girl who used to curl against me every night because we couldn't afford heating during Ohio winters. The girl who cried when she lost her first tooth and begged me not to leave her alone even for a moment. Now she wanted to take everything I built with bleeding hands and no sleep. I reached for my phone again, hoping, praying this was some misunderstanding, but there were new messages. Password change request for business account. Unauthorized device detected. Account lockout warning. Each notification was a knife. By the time I pressed my forehead against the cold window, Cincinnati's skyline blurred into streaks of blue and gray, and my breath fogged the glass. My daughter wouldn't destroy me, I whispered. But the truth was already lodged in my chest like a splintered bone. She was trying, and someone was teaching her how. I didn't go home that night. I sat in my office long after everyone left, while the fluorescent lights flickered overhead like a dying heartbeat. My hands wouldn't stop shaking, no matter how tightly I gripped my sweater. My phone sat on the desk in front of me, silent, heavy, accusing. My daughter, Harper. I tried calling, straight to voicemail. I tried texting. No answer. Every minute of silence felt like someone slowly drowning me in cold water. At 11:47 p.m., another notification arrived. New device signed in from Columbus, Ohio. Her college town. I knew it was her. I knew it was intentional. And I knew she didn't want to talk to me. I buried my face in my palms. All the nights I stayed up when she had fevers. All the winters I skipped meals so she'd have enough. All the birthdays where I asked for overtime instead of gifts. All the years I taught her to fight for the truth, to stay loyal, to be kind. How did we get here? I thought of the last conversation we had 2 weeks ago. She sounded distant, irritated, like every word I said was an inconvenience. But kids go through phases, right? College pressure, friends, relationships. I told myself to give her space. Now I realized I had been giving her space. To drift away. To resent me. To plot against me. The thought gutted me. Just after midnight, I drove home. Cincinnati streets were empty. The kind of quiet that feels wrong. When I walked into my house, every room felt hollow. The picture frames on the wall, her first day of kindergarten, her first softball jersey, her high school graduation felt like ghosts haunting me. I sank onto the floor of the living room, hugging my knees to my chest. The shaking wouldn't stop. Neither did the memories. I remembered the night we were evicted when she was 7. How she cried in the back seat of the car as I lied, saying it was an adventure. I remembered mopping floors at midnight while she slept on a folding cot. I remembered promising her that one day I'd build something she'd be proud of. Now she was trying to steal it. My phone buzzed again. Not her. Not even close. It was my bank. Suspicious activity detected. Temporary lock initiated. I stared at the screen until my eyes burned. My daughter was dismantling my life piece by piece. And worst of all, she wasn't doing it alone. There was someone else. Someone whispering in her ear. Someone feeding her resentment. Someone guiding her actions like a puppeteer pulling strings. And that knowledge, that invisible enemy, terrified me more than the betrayal itself. Around 3:12 a.m., I slid down the kitchen cabinets and sat on the cold tile floor, hugging myself. I already lost my parents, I whispered into the darkness. I can't lose her too. I can't. But deep down, under all the denial, all the fear, all the motherly excuses, I already felt the truth tightening around my ribs like barbed wire. I was losing her, piece by piece, day by day, and I had no idea how to stop it. The next morning, I looked like someone who had lived 3 lifetimes in one night. Red eyes, no voice, hands trembling so hard I could barely hold the steering wheel. But I still drove straight to Attorney Samuel Harlow's office in downtown Cincinnati. I didn't call ahead. I didn't care. I walked into the lobby like a ghost wearing my clothes. When he saw me, he didn't bother with small talk. "Delaney," he said softly. "Sit down." I couldn't. I paced, clutching the edges of my coat like it was the only thing keeping me from falling apart. "Sam, she's locking me out of everything. Financial accounts, company systems, even my email. My throat closed. I don't understand how she could know how to do all that." He exchanged a look with his assistant, then closed his office door. "That's because she's not acting alone," he said quietly. "And I found something last night." He pulled out a folder. My heart pounded against my ribcage. "Your daughter has been meeting with someone named Miles Reddington, a former CFO for a manufacturing firm here in Ohio." I frowned. "I don't know him." Sam nodded grimly. "You wouldn't. But he knows you. He once applied for a senior position at your company 5 years ago. You rejected him." A cold wave spread up my spine. He continued. "He has a history, internal misconduct, shady accounting practices. He's the kind of man who targets young adults, emotionally vulnerable ones, makes them believe they're being mistreated, then convinces them to seize power." My stomach turned. God, Harper is 19. She doesn't even know how predators like him operate. Sam sat back. "He's playing a long game, and he's using your daughter as a weapon." For a moment, the room blurred. All the betrayal, all the pain, suddenly had a shape. A face. A name. I sank into the chair finally, staring down at my hands. "I don't know how to fight this, Sam. I don't want to destroy her. She's my daughter." "I know," he said. "That's why you're going to need someone who understands the emotional side and the legal side." He opened another file. "I reached out to an old contact of mine last night, Judge Marjorie Keaton. Retired, but brilliant. She specializes in cases involving parental disputes, young adult manipulation, financial coercion, and..." He paused for effect. "She's in Cincinnati this month." I blinked. "A judge? Why would she help me?" "Because you helped her," Sam smiled faintly. "You hired her niece 10 years ago when no one else would. Marjorie never forgot." A small, shaky breath escaped me. A person who remembered my goodness, who owed me nothing but still chose to step in. For the first time in 48 hours, something inside me stirred. Not relief, not strength, but something smaller, thinner, like a single thread keeping me from collapsing completely. Hope. Sam stood and handed me a card. "Marjorie will meet you tonight," she said, and I quote, "Tell Delaney Price to wipe her tears. It's time she learns how to fight smarter than the people trying to break her." My chest tightened. A mentor. A light. A chance. I wasn't out of the darkness yet. But for the first time, I wasn't alone in it. Judge Marjorie Keaton didn't look like any judge I'd ever imagined. No black robe. No stern glare. Just a compact woman in her late 60s with sharp gray eyes, a navy wool coat, and the kind of posture that told you she'd survived wars no one ever wrote about. We met at a quiet diner in Over the Rhine. She slid into the booth across from me, studying my face like she was reading a case file written in the wrinkles under my eyes. "You haven't slept," she said, not unkindly. "I can't," I whispered. She nodded once, as if confirming a diagnosis she already expected. Then she leaned forward. "Good, because you're not here to rest. You're here to fight." My breath caught. "I don't want to fight my daughter." "You're not fighting your daughter." Her voice cut clean, like a scalpel. "You're fighting the man who is using your daughter." That distinction, so simple, so brutal, hit somewhere deep, somewhere raw. I swallowed hard. "I don't know where to start." "Lee, that's what I'm here for," she said. "But you need to understand something before we begin." Her eyes locked onto mine. "You've spent 19 years protecting Harper. Now you must protect yourself from the very person who taught her how to wound you." My hands tightened around my coffee mug. She slid a binder across the table. A thick one, labeled Strategy Price Case. "When Sam told me what was happening," she said, "I watched hours of public hearing footage on Miles Reddington. The man is a vulture, but vultures only win when the prey lies down." She tapped the binder. "So you're going to stand up?" I opened it. Timeline. Evidence charts. Behavioral analysis. Things I didn't even know people tracked. "You built a company from nothing," she said. "You know structure, discipline, resilience. Now you're going to apply all that to reclaiming your life." I felt something stir in my chest, anger. Not the melting, collapsing kind. The solid kind. "But where do I start?" I asked again, voice steadier this time. "With this." She handed me a flash drive. "On it is a recovery of your deleted emails and financial logs. Someone tried to erase digital tracks, but I have friends who owe me favors." My heart thudded. "You recovered everything?" "Everything Reddington didn't understand how to hide," she replied dryly. "Which is most of it." I almost cried from relief, but she raised a hand. "No tears. Not tonight. Tears waste energy." "No." I nodded slowly. "Next," she continued, "you're going to document every interaction with your daughter, not to weaponize her, to protect both of you when this blows up." Her assumption that this would blow up made my pulse race. I whispered, "How do I prepare for that?" "You stop being Delaney the mother," she said, "and start being Delaney the fighter." Those words, they didn't feel like encouragement. They felt like a transformation. For 19 years, I broke myself to be gentle, to be patient, to be forgiving. Now, for the first time, someone was handing me permission, no, direction to be strong. When we left the diner, the cold Cincinnati wind cut across my face. But something inside me had shifted. I wasn't healed. I wasn't whole. But I was awake. And I was done letting people tear my life apart. The next morning, for the first time in days, I didn't feel like a ghost walking through my own life. I woke up trembling, yes, but trembling with purpose. Judge Marjorie had given me something I hadn't had since this nightmare began: direction. I drove to the office before sunrise. Cincinnati was still half asleep, the Ohio River wrapped in layers of cold mist, streetlights flickering like distant watchtowers. When I stepped into my building, the silence felt different. Not hollow, not threatening. More like the quiet before a starting gun. I sat at my desk, plugged in the flash drive Marjorie gave me, and opened the recovered files. Every deleted email, every suspicious login, every financial attempt Harper or Miles made, all of it neatly restored. And with each page I read, something inside me hardened. I found the email where Miles told my daughter, "Your mother built her empire on selfishness. Take what should have been yours." I found the spreadsheet where he mapped out how to remove me from my own board. I found the forged performance complaints he pushed Harper to file. Each revelation felt like a slap, but instead of recoiling, I straightened. I stood taller. By 9 a.m., I had regained full access to my financial accounts. I initiated new two-factor authentication, locked down all company systems, and revoked every unauthorized login, including my daughter's. My hands didn't even shake. By noon, I walked into a board meeting I wasn't expected to attend. The executives looked up, startled. I smiled small, controlled, cutting. "Good morning," I said. "We'll be implementing a strategic audit effective immediately." They nodded quickly. No one questioned the edge in my voice. And it felt powerful. Not cruel. Not vengeful. Just right. Just necessary. At 2 p.m., a major supplier who'd nearly pulled out last quarter called unexpectedly. I breathed once, steadied myself, and pitched a revised partnership plan Judge Marjorie helped me rehearse. They accepted. A contract worth nearly $250,000. If Harper and Miles thought the company was vulnerable, they were wrong. If they thought I could be pushed into a corner, they underestimated me. If they thought I'd crumble, they didn't know who raised me or what I'd survived. Around 5 p.m., as the sun dipped behind Cincinnati's skyline and cast orange streaks across my office, Samuel called. "You look different," he said when I walked into his office for the evening briefing. "I feel different," I replied. He studied me for a moment. "The board is on your side. The auditors will confirm what we already know. The vendor contract today, that'll stabilize the quarter. Delaney, you're turning this around." But I shook my head. "This isn't about the company anymore," I said quietly. "It's about my daughter. It's about the man who twisted her. And it's about stopping him before he ruins her life the way he tried to ruin mine." Sam leaned back. "So what's your next step?" I exhaled. "Phase 2. Which is?" I looked out the window, the city lights blinking awake, the river like a dark ribbon cutting through the night. "I'm going to confront the man behind all this," I whispered. "And I'll win. Not for revenge. For truth. For justice. For my daughter." I asked Samuel to set up a meeting. Not in an office. Not in court. Somewhere neutral. Somewhere my daughter couldn't accuse me of ambushing her, and Miles couldn't hide behind legal jargon. He chose a quiet conference room inside a co-working building downtown. The kind with glass walls and soft yellow lights, deceptively warm, painfully transparent. I arrived early. My hands were folded neatly in my lap, but inside my chest, a storm churned so violently it felt like thunder under my skin. I repeated one sentence in my head. "I'm not here to destroy her. I'm here to protect her." The door opened. Harper stepped in. My daughter, 19 years old. Brown hair pulled into a tight ponytail, shoulders tense, not a trace of the softness she used to carry. For a split second, she looked like the little girl I raised. Then the coldness in her eyes erased every memory. She wouldn't even sit. "Mom," she said flatly. "Let's not drag this out. I know why you're here." Her voice cut deeper than any accusation. Samuel stood near the wall, arms crossed. He would intervene only if necessary. I rose slowly. "Harper, sweetheart, why are you doing this? Why are you shutting me out? Why?" She lifted a hand. A gesture I had never seen her use with me. Dismissive. Impatient. Learned from someone else. "Because you never listened," she snapped. "You've made every decision without me. About the company. About our lives. You act like you sacrificed everything for me. But you did it for yourself." The words shook me. Not because they were true, but because they belonged to someone who wanted them to hurt. "Who told you that?" I whispered. She shifted her weight. "No one. I can think for myself." But her eyes flickered. Just once. Just enough. The door opened again. And he entered. Miles Reddington. Tall. Too polished. Smile too confident, the kind of man who thought fear was a weakness to exploit. He walked in as if he owned the room. As if he owned my daughter. "Delaney," he said with a fake warmth that made my stomach twist. "We're glad you agreed to meet. Transparency is important." I froze. "We." He said we. Harper moved closer to him, like he was some kind of anchor, or shield. "Let's make this simple," Miles continued. "Harper believes she deserves her share of the company. Legally, she can pursue it. You've left gaps in your succession planning. That's on you." My nails dug into my palms. "This is between me and my daughter," I said sharply. "You don't speak for her." He smirked. "But she asked me to." I looked at Harper. Is that true? Her jaw clenched. I need someone who actually supports me. The air left my lungs. Miles stepped forward. Sign partial control over to her, and this doesn't have to escalate. I lifted my chin. Finally steady. Finally unbroken. No. His smile vanished. Think carefully. I said no. Silence dropped like a stone into the room. Harper's eyes widened not in fear, but in disbelief, like she had never seen me stand this firm. Miles stepped closer. Then you leave us no choice. He reached into his bag and pulled out a folder thick, threatening, and placed it on the table between us. This, he said, is everything we're prepared to expose. Harper looked away, ashamed, but trapped. And in that moment, I knew. This wasn't the final battle. This was only the announcement. The war had officially begun. I never imagined I'd end up in a courtroom against my own daughter. The marble floors of the Hamilton County Courthouse echoed beneath my heels as I walked toward the hearing room, every step heavy, every breath sharp. Cincinnati morning light spilled through the tall windows, cold and merciless, like it wanted the truth as badly as I did. Harper was already there. She sat beside Miles Reddington, her hands folded stiffly in her lap, her eyes red like she hadn't slept either. But the moment she saw me, she looked away. Not angry, not bold. Guilty. Judge Marjorie Keaton entered the room with the authority of a storm. Even retired, she carried a presence that could slice steel. Let's begin. Samuel stood first. Your Honor, we will show clear evidence of manipulation, financial coercion, and digital interference directed by Mr. Miles Reddington, exploiting a 19-year-old young woman for personal gain. Miles smirked. Arrogant. Confident. So sure we had nothing. Samuel plugged in a USB. My heart rattled in my chest. The screen lit up. Recovered emails. Dozens of them. Miles feeding Harper lies. Your mother is exploiting you. The company should be yours. She's planning to cut you out entirely. Each message was poison, typed in neat corporate language. Harper stiffened. Her knuckles whitened. Then came the financial logs, Miles attempting unauthorized transfers under Harper's account. Then the deleted video file Marjorie managed to recover. Miles coaching Harper in a conference room. Repeat after me, he said in the recording. My mother has mismanaged assets. Harper's recorded voice trembled. I don't want to say that. Miles snapped. Do you want the company or not? Don't be weak. A gasp echoed through the courtroom, Harper's own. She covered her mouth with her hands as tears spilled down her cheek. Miles shot up from his chair. This is taken out of context. Judge Keaton Slamlhagawul. Sit down, Mr. Reddington. Samuel continued calmly. There is also proof of Mr. Reddington's past financial crimes and his attempts to conceal his identity while accessing Miss Price's corporate accounts. Miles lunged for the laptop. Turn that off! Two deputies instantly moved in. The courtroom erupted into chaos, Harper sobbing, Miles shouting legal threats, and Samuel standing firm like a wall of stone. Judge Keaton's voice sliced through the noise. Mr. Reddington, you are under arrest for fraud, coercion, and multiple counts of digital misconduct. Deputies, remove him from this courtroom. Miles froze. For the first time, fear cracked his expression. No, wait, Harper, tell them I was helping you. Harper looked at him with pure betrayal. You weren't helping me, she whispered, voice breaking. You were using me. As they dragged him out, he screamed her name. But she didn't move. She turned to me instead, slowly, painfully, like a child waking from a nightmare. Mum? Her voice shattered. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. Everything inside me trembled. The anger, the grief, the love. All of it collided until I could barely breathe. Samuel placed a hand on my shoulder. Judge Keaton watched quietly, not interfering, not rushing. This wasn't victory. Not yet. This was the reckoning. The breaking. The moment everything collapsed. So something new could finally rise. When the courtroom finally emptied, I stayed seated for a long time. The marble felt colder than usual, the air quieter, almost suspended. The deputies escorted Miles away hours earlier, but the echo of his shouting lingered like a stain on the walls. Harper sat across from me. No lawyers. No manipulation. No courtroom lights. Just a mother and daughter, the ruins between us still smoking. She kept wiping her cheeks with the back of her sleeve, like if she cleaned her face enough, she could erase the last few months entirely. "Mom," she whispered, "please say something." I looked at her long and hard. 19 years of memories folded behind my ribs like photographs I'd been too afraid to look at. "I don't know what to say yet," I admitted softly, "but I'm here." Her face crumpled. She slid off her chair and knelt in front of me like a child seeking forgiveness. "I thought he cared about me," she cried. "He told me you hated me. That you only kept me around because you needed someone to inherit the company. I believed him. I was stupid. I was so stupid." I cupped her face gently. "No. You were lonely. You were lost. And someone took advantage of you. That doesn't make you stupid, it makes you human." She inhaled sharply and leaned into my hands like she used to when she was little and scared of thunderstorms. "Can we fix this?" she whispered. "Us? Can we fix us?" I hesitated only a moment. "I don't know how long it will take," I said truthfully. "But yes, we start today." Her eyes filled again, but this time the tears weren't poisoned. They were healing. The next weeks moved slowly, like a city thawing after a brutal winter. We went to therapy separately first, then together. She withdrew from the toxic group Miles connected her to. She moved back home for a while, sleeping in her old room with the fairy lights still taped to the wall. There were arguments. There were awkward silences. There were nights she cried in the hallway thinking I couldn't hear. But there were mornings, 2 quiet breakfasts, soft apologies, shared stories from before everything broke. Every day, 1 brick lifted from the wall between us. Every day, she came back to me a little more. 3 months later, I stood on the balcony of my office, overlooking the Cincinnati skyline. The Ohio River shimmered in the distance, and for the first time in a long time, I felt steady, alive. Harper walked out to join me, holding 2 mugs of coffee, mine black, hers drowning in vanilla creamer. She nudged her shoulder into mine. "You ever think about selling the company? Starting something new?" I smiled. "Sometimes. Diak. Maybe we could build something together," she said shyly. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw not the girl who betrayed me, not the victim of a manipulator, but a young woman brave enough to crawl out of a mistake and choose love again. "Maybe we can," I said. She smiled, small, hopeful, real. And in that moment, I understood. The story wasn't about losing everything. It was about rebuilding better. Not revenge. Not power. Not winning. But rebirth. My daughter didn't save me. I didn't save her. We saved each other. And that was the legacy worth leaving behind.